Hello and welcome back to my craft room. It's time for a little bit more Millefiori madness. I just have two more techniques I want to share with you before I put this project, put it aside for a little while I start focusing on my tags for the Great Big Little Stitchery Swap Round 4, which just started a week ago. So I need to focus on that till I've got my tags done, and then I'll be back to start putting my Millefiori project together. So I will still be working on it in the meantime, but there won't be any more videos about Millefiori then until I've got my swap tags done. But I just have two more techniques I want to try, and then in between times before I come back to you, I'll be making up a whole lot more of my little Millefiori motifs in all the different techniques that I've used, so that I've got a whole load to play with and arrange onto the pieces that will become my Millefiori bag. So let's have a look where I'm going, and I've got something else a bit special to show you as well. So here we go, here are the ones I've made so far. I've been using my Suffolk Puff Maker set and some of these 3D printed circles that my son Tom made for me. We gave away a set of both of these in our live stream the other day, so let's pop back up here again. If you haven't joined us for our live streams before, they are brilliant. They're so much fun. Try and join us if you can. We do them, we call them Arty Farty parties, and we do them on the first Saturday of every month. We usually, these days, we've got into the habit of having a guest on, someone from our community, and also we do some little giveaways. I usually pretend I'm doing some kind of crafting, but in practice, with all the chat and all the other stuff that's going on, I get around to doing very little. So join us if you can. They really are a lot of fun. You can bring along whatever projects you're working on. If you're in our Discord, you can share them in the live stream, follow along on Discord, or just join us in the live chat. Anything goes, really. It's just a nice way for us all to get together once a month. Out of interest, we're toying with the idea of introducing perhaps a weekly live stream. It would be a bit quieter, a bit more chill, there won't be any giveaways, and I will actually do a bit of crafting. Yeah, it would just be nice just to have a quiet, chilled out. Not sure which day of the week or what time of the day it would be, but yeah, do let me know what you think. Would that be something you'd be up for, and if so, what times and days would suit you? Give me UK times though. Or tell me which country you're in so I can work it out for myself. Anyway, enough waffle about that. Let's crack on. I'll get told off for waffling again. I say that. Most of you are lovely. Most of you are lovely about my waffling, but I do get some odd comments. But I just can't help myself. So, back to this. So, yes, I've been using those circles. So here's one where I've made a Suffolk puff. I've put one of the 3D printed circles inside, so it closes up to a nice neat circle, and I could leave this gap in the middle, and I've lined it with a different fabric. I've been using silks from my Bazaar scrap packs and some sparkly bits and pieces from the bougie packs that I got from Megan Crook Textiles. So I've mixed the two together. I've stitched buttons onto some of them. I've got lots of lovely vintage buttons and things I can use. I've got beads like this I'm going to bring in. I've got all kinds of sequins and things. Little shaped sequins. Some of these I've had knocking around for years. It's lovely to find a chance to use them. I've got a gorgeous bag of lovelies from Maggie that she gave me the other day when we met up in Cornwall. All of these are going to be worked in as well. I will be cutting out some pieces, just layered circles, and applying them directly to the background fabric, along with buttons and beads and sequins and things. I'm going to do some shisha work applied directly to the background as well. I've done some little shishas here, different ways of including shisha mirrors here, and that's probably more like the kind of traditional. This is using those 3D circles works so well. In this case, with the ones like this and this, I've used them as, that's another one, I've used them as like an embroidery hoop that stays inside. They've been really handy for that. So I've just gathered the fabric around because you won't see the back, and then done my embroidery over the top. It's a really nice way to work. I really enjoyed that. This one is just a piece of decorative fabric from one of the Bazaar packs. I've just literally gathered it around one of the smaller size circles and blanket stitched around. That was all ready on there. And that one's just plain. I might still put something else in the centre of that, because all of these, when I stitch them to the background fabric, I can add more decorative stitching on top, or stitch extra buttons into them or whatever. these ones were what I called the deep dish ones. So I used empty nightlight shells and gathered my Suffolk puffs around them, and then added beads and things in the middle. Really enjoyed them. Someone said they reminded her of those old-fashioned Christmas baubles, and I totally remember those, especially this one. Reminded me of seeing my granny get her carefully tissue wrapped glass baubles out of the box at Christmas. Oh, and then there were these ones, which are the Journopf buttons, where you wrap the thread around to create these pretty effects. Again, I used the 3D printed circles for that, but we did come up with lots of different suggestions for alternatives. There's curtain rings like this, metal and plastic ones, the rings you get on bottle caps. Over there, I'll leave a link to the Millefiori playlist, because over the course of the last few weeks people have suggested lots of different alternatives. I am trying to get someone to print some sets of these that I can put on for sale in the Etsy shop. I just can't get them to get around to doing it, so I wish I could do it myself, but I can't. But yes, worth playing with whatever alternatives you can come up with. Even for some of these techniques, just circles of cardboard would work, or of plastic, reused old ice cream tubs and things like that. You could definitely experiment with. Now, Maggie, one of the things I wanted to show you, when I met up with the lovely Maggie Morris just recently, many of you will know her name. She gave me this. Look at this, handmade by Maggie. I have shown this on a video before, so I'm going to show it just briefly now, in case you missed that video, because it was quite a long video. I'm not sure everyone would have wanted to watch it. It's my getting back from holiday show and tell. But she made me this beautiful scroll. I even love the back. Look, that's all Millefiori. It reminds me of Millefiori too, doesn't it? The Klimt paintings as well. But yes, look at this beautiful. She did a huge Millefiori piece, and she's done this little mini scroll version. I've already done a slow drive-by of this in that previous video, but look. How absolutely stunning is that? Now, Maggie's done all of these by applying the circles of fabric. She's found fabrics that have little circular motifs and things on them, and she's applied them directly to the background fabric and then stitched into them, and that looks incredible. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at all those colours. I love how that dark chocolate kind of, it's like a chocolate brown, or is it a dark plum? Like it kind of tones with this, coordinates with this fabric. A background really sets it off with all of the little tiny straight stitching. Just fabulous. And as always with Maggie's pieces, as well as the colour, you've got this phenomenal texture. Absolutely beautiful. So let's put that safely out of the way. So there are lots of different ways you can take inspiration from this whole Millefiori thing, and these, once they're against a black background, just really makes them pop. As I say, I will also be interspersing them with circles of brightly coloured fabric and lots of stitching. This will be encrusted. Some of them may overlap, like they've naturally kind of started to overlap. They haven't quite decided yet, but yeah, lots and lots more to do on this. So let's put that out of the way. And the technique I wanted to show today, well, there are two really, is this one. This is a kind of, I really love it, if I do say so myself. It's a kind of reverse applique, in that you apply the negative space, if that makes sense, and the shape that's left behind is the space that's left behind forms the shape. So I've just done a layer of layers of circles here. If I show you the back, that's what it looks like on the back, and that will apply directly to my background fabric. But I will stitch down. You won't see raw edges there. Those will all be stitched down and covered by other by other circles and things. So it'll all become part of the whole. I can't wait to get to the point where I'm starting to assemble it all together. So to make this, I use two of these rings. I use one of the larger ones, and I've taken off two. So it's like a stack of two to give it a bit more thickness. But if you were using something like a curtain ring or whatever, you might find it's a bit thicker anyway. Or if you're using cardboard, you could just stack it up a little bit. I think over the weeks, people have come up with lots of different ways to fun, you know, to make use of different recycled items and things to make these rings. So yeah, with these 3D printed ones I can pick off just one like that, or two, and what I've done there is to pick off two to give it just a little bit more depth. So now I want a smaller circle. Let's go with that one. That's the size I used before, and I'm just going to use one layer this time. I love picking that off, it's so satisfying. And then I think the next layer in, I'm going to use just this plain bright pink, I think. Am I? Yeah, this one's going to be really pinky. So what I'm going to do now is place my circle so that there's a little bit of margin around it. You don't need a lot, doesn't need to go all the way to the edge. And use my heat erasable pen. And really it's not going to show much anyway. So I've just placed that so I can cut it out with a bit of a margin, and I'm going to trace around the inside of the circle. Cut this. Let's just make it roughly circular. And now I'm just going to just fold that slightly so I can get a snip a little hole in the middle. And I'm going to cut out towards the edge that I've drawn. And then the idea is that I'll put this circle here, and I'm going to fold these tabs that I've made back and stitch them down. To make life easier for myself, I might just use a tiny dab of glue stick just to hold it down for a minute until I get to stitch it. Just put a dab in the middle on all those points. Just as little as I can get away with, to just kind of tack it down. I'm sure there must be a tidier, more professional way to do this, but I made it up as I went along and this kind of worked for me. So I've just done it like that. Oh, that one's already coming undone, doesn't matter. And then I'm going to just initially run a little straight stitch around here, just pulling this fairly tight as I go. Let's just use some normal sewing thread for this bit. So I'm going to bring my thread up from underneath. I've just put a knot in the end, and I'm doing a small, neat running stitch all the way around, keeping it close to the ring, and just holding that back as I go along. So you can see it's not absolutely essential to hold to kind of do that glue stick bit first, but it does kind of help to keep everything under control. As I say, I'm fairly certain there's a neater, tidier way to do this. Please feel free to share any tips or links to tutorials in the comments. I'm very happy to take any advice or recommendations and share them with other viewers. So yeah, we're all learning from each other and inspiring each other. One of the many things I love about this community of ours. So I'm just going to carry on now and stitch all around this ring. It's going to be easier if I can bring it under my nose now to see what I'm doing, so I'll be back in a moment. Here we go, I've just stitched that down. You can see it's not perfect, it doesn't matter to me, and the next step will kind of smooth all that out anyway. This will end up going inside here, so it only needs to be cut big enough to then attach onto here. I probably could have been a bit more generous, to be fair, there, but it'll work, and it doesn't have to be absolutely concentric like that. It could be off to one side, which I think is quite fun as well. I've gone off to one side a bit there, I quite like that. So the next thing I did was to take some embroidery floss and do a blanket stitch around the inside, and I think I'll use this lime green to give a bit of contrast. Let's make it a little bit thicker. I usually use 2 strands, but sometimes I like it to look a little bolder. Looking at Maggie Morris's work recently, and she uses perlé thread all the time. She doesn't use floss. That's partly how she gets that lovely bold kind of patterns and texture that she gets. Is from using perlé thread. So I must get myself some. I've got a few, but not many. Okay, so now I'm going to take an embroidery needle, make myself a knot in the end, and I'm going to start by bringing my thread up across there like that, so that it comes out at that inside edge. From the back, like that. And I'm just going to do a normal blanket stitch here. I could do something more fancy, I guess. I could do that German knotted blanket stitch that Christine showed us in the dictionary stitches. I love that. I think for this, I think just the plain blanket stitch, oops, sorry for the wobbles and the crash. I think the plain blanket stitch for this will work. Nothing fancy here going on at all. Just taking the needle down underneath that ring that's inside. So this could be a curtain ring, a cardboard ring, the ring off a bottle top, whatever you're using, a washer, whatever you're using. Bringing it underneath the ring, looping the thread around so that I come out on top of that thread and putting it up like that. Do it once more for anybody that's not used to blanket stitch. I'm holding this out at arm's length, so I'm going to show this one more stitch and then I'm going to bring it back under my nose and finish off and come back in a mo. Okay, shampoo. Just coming to the end now. This last little stitch in. And I'm going to take the needle through, oops, back through there where I started to finish it off. And go and make a little kind of knot at the back there, just to fasten it off. And then this will go inside there. And then for the last layer, I'm going to use a piece of this, I think. No, I'm not sure about that now. Should I go back to a piece of this again or pick something completely different? No. Kind of wish I'd done lime green thread on there now as well. I could still add some lime green, or I could do a lime green chain around the outside. I might do that in a moment. So, alright, what I'm going to do now is put a knot in my thread again. I'm just going to run a line of running stitch around here to link these two together. It's not really going to show, so I'm not too bothered, but just in case, I've carried on with this lime green thread. I've just unthreaded my needle now. So yeah, I'm just going to do a line of running stitch around there to join these two together. Back in the mower. So here we are. This one's all stitched together now. I've put some sequins in the middle as well. You can see it's all a bit scrappy on the back, but it doesn't matter because that won't show. Yeah, so I'm very happy with them, and I could have added more depth to this top one to make this recede back further, kind of like that. I could have made this a top ring deeper to get more of a 3D effect like that, or do it like that and push this back. But I think I like it, yeah. So there was one more thing I wanted to try. I've taken two of these 3D printed rings, and I've taken two bits of the silk from the Bazaar packs and just gathered them, just done a line of running stitch around them and gathered them, just raw edges around the rings, and I'm going to sandwich them together like this. But in the middle I'm going to put a ring. I'm going to use this one. I was going to use this, but didn't get the size right. There's not enough space there. And the idea is just to use this ring to create a bit of a shape underneath. So I'm going to stitch these together, sandwiching that curtain ring in between, and then I can do some stitching around the curtain ring so that you can see the shape of it. Now I will use some of these as well, because I've got a few of these that have kind of lost their elasticity a bit. It'd be a good way to use them. So when I come to do the just layered pieces of fabric straight onto the background, with some of them I will sandwich some of these in between the layers and then stitch over them in much the same way I'm going to do now with this. It's just a size thing really. I could also have peeled off a couple of layers of these rings in whatever size and used it instead of that. I've got this here, so I thought I'll use this. I'm just going to use some normal sewing thread first. Just make a little stitch here somewhere just to anchor this thread. It's not going to show. Go back through the loop, make a little knot. That'll hold it. I'll just hold that in place, and I'm going to just put a few stitches around to hold it roughly in the centre there. I don't care if it goes a bit off. It's not many stitches, it's just enough to hold it roughly where I want it to be. There we go. So it's a bit messy on the back, not going to matter, not going to show. And then I'm going to put this other piece over the top. As I say, with the pieces that I lay straight onto the fabric, I won't need this ring here, and I won't need this one. I will just lay the layers of fabric straight onto the background, and I will sandwich this ring in between them. But I thought I would just show this one this way. So now let's just tuck that end away. The next thing I'm going to do is tack this second ring into place, and this is going to show, so I'm going to keep the stitches quite nice and small. There'll be big stitches on the back, but the ones on the front I'll keep them reasonably neat. There's going to be lots of decorative stitching, so it won't show too much, but yeah. So I'm just moving along on the back here and taking a tiny stitch at the front to just attach these two pieces together. And this is just another fun way to create a circular Millefiori inspired motif. There are endless ways that I could create circular motifs, and definitely I'm going to do a lot of, so the piece that I showed, the little mini Millefiori scroll that Maggie made for me that I showed earlier, I'm definitely going to do some pieces just like Maggie has there, just with the layers of fabric applied directly to the background and stitched into. Must be nearly there now. Nearly. One of the things I'm loving about this project is that I'm using these reclaimed silk scraps, rescued fabrics from the Bazaar scrap packs, and the offcuts from Megan Crook Textiles, the bougie packs, which is where all these shiny sparkly ones have come from. So these are all fabrics that would otherwise have ended up as textile waste. There we go. That one's all ready. It's all attached together now. You can see the silk is a bit thin there, so that the grey plastic underneath is showing through, but by the time I finish my decorative stitching, I don't think that will show. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to leave this thread on the needle, and I'm just going to come up to one side of where that ring is. I can feel where that ring is, and I'm going to do a little line of straight stitch all around, feeling with my finger and thumb where that ring is between the layers, and stitching as close to it as I can. Just coming up right next to it there. It's a bit too long a gap there, doesn't matter. This isn't really going to show, this is more about keeping everything in place and marking out where everything is ready for me to do my decorative stitching. Okay, so I've gone all the way around the outside of that curtain ring, and now I'm going to just move over and do the same thing on the inside of the ring. Just keep feeling with my thumb where that ring is. Looks a bit like that Italian quilting thing. Is it called trapunto? It looks a bit like that. So you can see that could just as well be one of these, or you could put something like one of these inside, in the middle, or anything underneath to give that little bit of shape and interest there. Fasten this off on the back, and then I'm going to pick a contrasting thread. I quite like the look of these kind of tealy colours against red, so I think I'm going to go with one of these. I could put a sequin in the middle, or a bit of a little shisha mirror in the middle would be quite nice as well. Back to my slightly bigger needle with a big eye. A really simple overstitch here. I'm trying to keep them even, but I'm not doing too well, but it'll be fine. So I keep saying, embrace the wonk. So I'm going to work my way around here, do that all the way around, and then I'm going to do some blanket stitch around here, and maybe add a little sequin in the middle or something. I'm a bit aware that this video is going to become extremely long, so I'm going to stop. I don't think I'm going to do anything more fancy now. I'm going to stop filming this, and I'll come back in a sec and show you how it looked at the end. But yeah, essentially I'm just doing this overstitch here. I'll do a blanket stitch around the edge there. I might do a blanket stitch in a different colour around this very edge, and because the ring is holding it all rigid, it's really easy to work into. If I wanted to put a shisha mirror in the middle or a big sequin in the middle and do it like shisha work, it would be very easy, because this is like an inbuilt embroidery hoop, a little mini embroidery hoop. Okay, I'm going to keep going with this, and I'll be back in a sec. I have finished with this, so I've done a line of what do you call that, split stitch. I've not done it very neatly around there, and then a little back stitch with like 3 strands of embroidery floss. Oh, it's a bit crooked, that's why it's not focusing. There we go. Some sort of detached lazy daisies there around that sequin thing. It's just really straightforward stitches, and you can see that you can make out that hoop in the middle there. It just gives it a bit of extra dimension. Yeah, so yeah, this is the ones I've done today. Let's get a thumbnail. I'm really enjoying those, and I will definitely make a few more of them. As I say, I will be carrying on making some more of these, more of the same really, the same but different, the various kinds of circles that I've done, and then I'll cut out lots of circles out of the fabrics, out the silks and the sparkly bits as well, so they're all ready to layer up. And then the next step will be to start applying them to the fabric to make my bag, which will be my finished project, but that won't happen until after I've got all of my tags done for the great big little stitchery swap now. So this will be the last time you'll see the Millefiori project for a little while. I probably need it'll probably be about a month now before I'm ready to move on to the next step. If you're making any projects at all inspired by this Millefiori idea, please do keep sharing them in the Facebook group. I always love to see when people take an idea and put their own spin on it. It really makes me happy. So yeah, thanks again for joining me today, and I will see you again really soon. Bye.